Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. We are Blue Water Builders, and this is our proposal presentation for your Fort Lauderdale Aquatic Center. To start off with, I'd like to introduce myself and my project team. I'm Benjamin Kraus. I'm the project manager. I'll be your day-to-day office communication.
My name's Tyler Vaderswag, project superintendent. Handle a lot of the day-to-day operations, a lot of the coordinating with subcontractors and making sure we provide you the most quality project as possible.
Hi there, I'm Caitlin Anderson. I'm the safety manager, full-time on site, and I'm here just to ensure that the construction workforce is in a safe and healthy environment.
And I'm Jordan DeGroat. I am the lead estimator, so anything to do with cost on the project will go through me.
So you may be wondering why Blue Water Builders. To begin with, we have 25 years of experience. Not only do we stick to what we know, but we also explore outside of just aquatic centers. We've done churches, and we've done several other types of industry projects. Blue Water Builder Way is our construction QC and QA policies that we enforce over all of our projects throughout our entire company. Our EMR rating of 0.69 shows how we institute a safety culture not only on our projects, but throughout our entire company. And our mental health safety and awareness program is a trailblazer, not only for our projects, but for all other companies in the construction industry. To talk a little bit about our previous experience, a big thing for us is the St. George Catholic Church down in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. This Gothic architecture uses precast concrete system for not only architectural aspects, but for structural aspects as well. This is key for your guys' architectural and structural dive tower on this job site. Additionally, the LSU U-Rec Center in Baton Rouge, Louisiana as well, had hot and humid temperatures as well as very high water table levels, allowing our management team to be aware of these issues and be able to acclimate themselves and our project team to them. The LSU Lazy River system allowed our concrete cast-in-place team to understand that systematic process and be able to deliver on those deadlines.
So moving into a bit of our schedule now, I've got it broken down a couple of different ways here. I've got our Step 1 original schedule, and then I have our updated Step 2 schedule that we covered yesterday. So look at Step 1 right there. That covers the original scope of work of this project, buildings A and B, the pools, and then the precast dive tower. Calendar duration for that is 1,280 days. That was our original duration for that. I know we had a maximum of 1,330, so we did have ourselves a little bit of wiggle room there as well. And again, those dates are from the notice to proceed through our final completion of the project. And the dates are up on the screen here for you. Notice to proceed was March 15th of 2024, and that final completion is September 18th of 2027. Now, with that project change for Step 2, what happened there, we added the addition of the south building into the scope of work, and in regards to that, the notice to proceed of that part of the project was 14 calendar days after the certificate of occupancy was issued for Part 1. And you can see we do have a revised duration there now of 1,951 days. Again, that's notice to proceed to final completion of the entire project now, so that final completion date is now slated as July 18th of 2029. One other consideration we want to make sure that we hit on here is the king tide floods. These are significant weather events that we need to take account into our schedule. We did have a weather contingency built into our schedule of 145 calendar days. We factored about a day a week based on National Weather Service historical data for the state of Florida. And you can see the dates of those there. We did factor those into our schedule. It is in our critical path now, so we are confident that we'll be able to deliver the project on time still with continuous monitoring on that. Going over to our next slide here, kind of just an overview of the project and the different areas of work here. Kind of some of the completion milestone dates on there as well. I'm going to really talk about the sequence on this. Demolition is going to be our first step of this project. There's a significant amount of it on here, so we're starting with that. Competition pool and the dive pool, getting the structure of those built is our next step that we're going to. We're doing that so that we can get started on that precast dive tower as soon as possible. We know that's an integral part of this project. It's a very statement piece, and we want to make sure that we're doing that in the most efficient way possible. Upon completion of that, we will start the foundations and structures of building A and B, and we will move into the finishes of both of those buildings as well as the pool finishes, that teaching pool in addition, and rounding it all out with the associated site work, and then that south building that we added to the scope of work as well. What I want to leave you with the schedule here is some of the big key milestone dates for this project, and I've hit on some of them already, so I'll breeze through this a little bit. Again, I highlight the precast dive tower. We want to keep hammering home on that. We want this to be a statement piece for this facility. Again, notice proceed March 15th of 2024. That dive tower, the precast dive tower will be complete September 1st of 2026, with that step 1 substantial completion on September 13th of 2027. That step 2, as I said, 14 days after certificate of occupancy. That step 2 notice to proceed will be on January 11th of 27. And as I said, our final project completion, July 18th of 2029.
Now moving into site logistics. This site is quite tight, along with safety hazards, not only with the water surrounding it, but with the outside hazards that come with traffic and pedestrians. We want to ensure security on this job site through a site perimeter fencing, along with a gated entrance and exit. The crane will be located in the middle of the job site to allow for the precast concrete panels to be picked and set, along with the stadium lighting system. The crane barge and the material barge will be used to deliver materials to the site that are oversized and might cause hazardous traveling potential through the residential areas, along with through our job site. We felt like this was a good way to handle some of the hazards that come with a very strict job site like this. Moving on to step 2, where our project management office was in the West Hall of Fame because that was not operational. Since this facility is now going to be operational, we had to mobilize a job site trailer. In the top left-hand corner, there is our emergency meeting location. You can see that our crane barge and our material barge is still mobilized on site.
So our total cost related to addendum 1 and 2 was $26.5 million. Now this cost includes all costs associated with building A, building B, the site concrete, as well as the precast dive tower. Now moving into addendum 3, this was the addition of the south building. Our total for that addendum was an add of $10.5 million. That includes the demolition and the reconstruction of the south building. Now addendum 4 was a change order. This was related to the flooding. And our total cost of that was $303,000. Now this covers costs for damages due to the flood, added staff, and any mobilizations that we need to do in relation to the flood. Addendum 5 was related to the boat show, and our total cost for that was $175,000. And this includes the furnishing and installation of site fencing, and this will direct foot traffic off of our site and make sure that pedestrians at the boat show remain safe while they're there. So our total cost for this project was $37.5 million. Now this detail is a simple cash flow analysis. This serves to show you as the client where and how your money will be spent throughout the project. We will be billing this project on a monthly basis based on equipment, labor, subcontractor, and general conditions until the project is complete. So the first peak that you see is related to our excavation and dewatering, as well as the substructure and the superstructure of buildings A and B and the pools. The second peak, which is the largest peak on the project, is related to the concrete, the precast dive tower, as well as the MEP trades. This is the largest peak because this is the time where there will be the most contractors on site. Now we go into a little low. This is when we are finishing up step 1 of the project, moving into step 2. So this is the demobilization, as well as the remobilization for the south building. And then the third and final peak is related to the south building, as well as any site work that is left to finish up.
So safety is a culture. Definitely here at BWB it is. And we want to ensure that everyone who comes to the job site leaves the job site safely and returns home to their family and loved ones, as we all, of course, want to do. So I want to go into just some general company-wide safety here. So we have a zero tolerance policy and awards program. So we want to make sure that we're acknowledging, we're recognizing and encouraging and rewarding those with good catches and good safety behavior on site. We are also a part of the STEP program, which is initiated by ABC, the Safety Training and Evaluation Process, which basically is just recognition for good safety performance. Jumping in here, I want to talk a little bit about job-specific safety. As we all know, we are surrounded by water here. We're working with pools. We have open pits. So slip and fall hazards is going to be a big one. We want to make sure that we have fence barricade and we only have qualified personnel working in those areas. Weather, being in Florida, is another one. And then electrical hazards. You know, water is a prominent feature here. We want to understand the risk of shock and make sure we have proper grounding and insulation. Not only thinking of these risk hazards from our side, of course we want our men and women on site to be safe, but also from the client's perspective. We don't want OSHA on your job site. We don't want anything to slow down the progress. Jumping here for our last slide into quality assurance and quality control. Here at BWB, we approach with a proactive plan rather than a reactive plan. We want to find these risks and these issues beforehand so we can handle them before they come into play. We're also an active participator in ABC's accredited quality contractor program for the past 6 years running. And our incident rate, which we are very proud of, is 50% below the North American industry classification system. So we can assure you here at BWB that we will provide you with the top quality project. From all of us here at BWB, we want to thank you for allowing us to present. We want to thank our sponsors for having us here. And at this time, we are open to any questions. Thank you very much.
I've got a question. We'll just start off with safety. You guys talked a little bit about culture and some of the things that you do. What's maybe a differentiating factor that you can implement on this job to provide that strong safety culture?
I think one of the things that's majorly important, especially having me there full-time as a safety manager, we want to make sure we're having daily toolbox talks or something of that nature. We do have those every day, and I think it's important for everyone to be involved, all trades, subcontractors, safety people from them as well. We want to, not everyone sees the same things, not everyone sees the same risks, so we want to put our heads together, and if someone didn't see something that somebody else did, we can eliminate that risk that way.
Jordan, I wanted to talk to you about the general conditions that you've stated on the job. They're about 38% of the cost of work, so that raised a little bit of a flag for me. As I look into it, it looks like you've just priced a lot of your equipment for the duration of the job. Do you feel that you'll need your cranes and forklifts and boom lifts for the entire duration, or is there an opportunity to potentially save some money and put it back into the project?
I do feel that we will need them the entirety of the project just because of the amount of moving parts on this project. I feel that it would cost more to remove them from the site rather than to just keep them there and use them when they're needed.
We do have some budget challenges on the project. What value engineering ideas do you have?
So when it comes to value engineering, it is crucial that it's not just us leading that, but it's also our subcontractors. With that being said, we ask our subcontractors when we do our pre-qualification bidding process that they establish with us possible alternatives they could use to decrease the total cost of the project. With that being said, we'd also like to introduce ever-growing software programs with concrete scheduling, estimating software, installation of the precast concretes, things like those need to be planned out in order to allow that to be done in a very efficient and safe manner.
I think another cost-saving method that we could take too is possibly removing some of the stucco furnishings on the exterior and exploring some alternate options that may be cheaper, simply maybe just painting the structure rather than covering it in a stucco.
From step 1 to step 2, there was almost a 2-year extension on the project completion date. Can you walk us through any opportunities you guys have to better that?
Absolutely, yes. So regarding that, we spent a lot of time thinking about this too. I believe we have something in our written proposal on it as well. I will highlight that here too, though. Ideally, starting that building C, we have 2 different phases currently for doing the auger cast piles. Ideally, that would slate right in with that second phase of auger cast piles. Demolition of that south building would occur prior to that, and we would limit our mobilization costs with the pile driving, or the auger piles, and we would start that construction of that south building at that same time.
If you could quantify it, how many months can you pull out of the schedule?
I would have to review that to be certain on it. I'd want to go back. I don't want to give you a false number for it. I'd have to go back and double check for you for certain.
Yeah, I've got a question here. What sort of permitting process do you guys have for this barge, for getting material from it to the site, and have you accounted for the time that it's going to take to do that in your schedule?
Yeah, so we reviewed this process with our barge trades workers, and they have explained to us what that process looks like. We need to go through a marine engineer analysis of the barge systems and ensure that each delivery is done appropriately and does not tip the barge, does not tip the barge crane. With that being said, since it is a smaller system and we are only using a tugboat to get that material barge to the location, there's no additional permitting that we need other than just informing the city that we are doing that process.
Thank you.
Yes.
Can you walk me through your dewatering process for both the competition pool and the dive pool?
Yeah, most definitely. I think Tyler could probably sequence that out for you.
Yeah, so in regards with our sequencing for that, we know, according to geotechnical reports, water table, I want to say, was 5-6 feet below. Obviously, we're doing a substantial amount of excavation below that. So a lot of what we're doing there, I'm going to talk specifically on that dive pool. It does have that permanent sheet piling that remains around it, so that's going to be one of our first steps for that project, is getting 3 of the sides of that sheet piling done and driven down. Upon completion of that, we're going to start excavating that out. We will have a constant dewatering process consisted of drilled wells, I believe, is what we had discussed and have in our proposal. So we'll have those running continuously in a manner to resolve dewatering issues that we may have.
And where's the water going to?
Yes, so the water will be going to a sedimentation tank, and it'll be the subcontractor's responsibility to determine where that water will then be disposed of.
Regarding dewatering, in your qualifications, you carried a $1.2 million allowance for that. If your costs overrun that $1.2 million, you're going to be looking for a change order from the owner?
That would be correct, yes.
Okay, what do you have in place, I guess, to make sure that the costs don't overrun the $1.2 million?
Part of that is just monitoring our budgets as we go, watching how much that sub we've been billing them. That'll be part of the project manager and superintendent's role to watch that. And if it is starting to become an issue, then we would have to reach out.
In regards to the barge, do you plan on using that as taking deliveries on the property and staging it on the barge, or having the barge float up or down the intercoastal and staging it somewhere else? And if it is the second option, did you guys anticipate us, the city, to provide a lot for you guys to go do that, or did you have somewhere already to accommodate the unloading and loading of that barge?
Yes, so just down the river system, there is a loading facility. We're anticipating that there will be fees associated with the general conditions that will be the loading of that process. With that being said, we did not really anticipate having to lock or store any materials in that location. We will be using the subcontractors as they tell us when their deliveries are, what their deliveries are, to coordinate what that process will look like.
What is your plan to maximize local business, local trade partner participation on this project?
Yes, so local trade partner involvement is crucial to not only you as the city, but also for us to understand what the ecosystem of the site is like. Tradespeople who are in Fort Lauderdale are going to know how to operate in Fort Lauderdale. So with that being said, we have reached out to several connection agencies in the Fort Lauderdale area to ensure that our bids and our ability to contact and reach these subcontractors will be achieved, and we will be able to have a majority of the subcontractors being either local or diversity, women-owned businesses, or disabled veterans, things like that. Yes.
I have a question regarding your RFP and presentation. Did you use AI or Chat GPT for any part of your presentation or your RFP? This doesn't weigh in on your score. We're asking everyone. We're just curious. So if you did, please be honest. We'd really like to know.
Well, I can step up and talk about it. So I wrote all my project management material myself, but I did use AI to review that material and pull out grammatical errors, discuss spelling, things like that, just as an editing tool more than a tool to actually give me the information, which I think is a very helpful thing, especially if you are a college student who doesn't really have time to go and have a professor read throughout your entire proposal.
Fantastic. Thank you for your honesty.
Of course.
Your general conditions cost is roughly 26% of the overall project total. It seems like you have everything covered. Do you think that there's some wiggle room there that you could bring that number down and some savings can come back to the owner?
So there definitely is. There's a percentage in there that is a lot of our allowances that were allotted as requested. The reason it's so high is due to the safety concerns on this site. So we have a lot of measures in place referring to safety. So that's why the cost is high, as well as staffing. So there definitely is room. As far as a percentage, I'd have to look. So if you want, I can get you a breakout on that.
That's fine. So all unused allowances will come back to the owner?
That would be correct, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Fort Lauderdale is a public entity. Are there any tax incentives where the city could recoup some costs on the project?
Not that I'm aware of, no.
As it relates to the high tides, can you explain your mold mitigation practices from both a safety and a QC perspective?
Yes, so we want to ensure from a safety-wise that we have qualified personnel working in those areas, and if there is mold, we of course want to make sure that we're wearing the proper PPE. You know, we don't want any issues or any sickness on the area side of that, but just doing everything in our ability to mitigate that before that happens, and just making sure that when and if it does happen, that we are wearing the proper PPE, we have the qualified personnel working in those areas.
So under the self-perform section, you all discussed that you recently, Blue Water recently got into precast fabrication and have your own facility. So can you talk a little bit about that facility, where it's located, kind of your QC and safety processes that are within that facility?
Most definitely. So Blue Water Builders just bought a subsidiary company, a manufacturing plant. We have our own quality and safety managers from Blue Water Builders that go out and review the materials that we use on our own project sites for construction. They also have their own designated safety and quality engineer to ensure that all the other materials that are going out to additional job sites that aren't run by our management team will fall under those correct specifications. As far as safety mitigations for precast concrete, we understand that that is one of the highest injury-prone aspects of construction. With that being said, we are currently exploring different options to mitigate those risks, mitigate the deaths that occur in that industry, and mitigate the safety hazards that come with precast construction.
And where was the facility located?
Oh, sorry, the facility is located in southern Georgia.
And to add on to that from a safety perspective, I mean, it's just, you want to make sure you're aware of your surroundings, things like that. I know I sound like a broken record, but it is true, and there are, incidents that happen, and we do want to always make sure that we're wearing our PPE, we're aware of our surroundings, we're communicating, we're using our hand signals. So safety is very important in any aspect, but especially in the precast.
In regards to our partners that generate the biggest income for us as a municipality, the boat show, how have you guys been able to accommodate them in your schedule? And since you do have a vessel on your end of the amenity, or in the end of the peninsula there, has it impacted your schedule in any way of having to relocate that at any point? And if so, what can we do to mitigate that?
You're saying specifically for the phasing with regards to when that yacht show is happening. So it definitely is an important consideration to take into account. We are, as Caitlin can allude to too, we strongly stress the safety, especially of the general public. That's a very strong point that we need to make sure that we are covering our bases on. I would have to review back in the schedule again. We do need to add a point of contention there for that specific setup for that event. It is definitely something that we will consider and we will be adding in.
And to feed off of what Tyler said from the safety perspective, when that yacht show is happening and we have public coming in, it's just a matter of making sure that things are properly indicated. We're going to have open holes, we're going to have pits, we're working with pools. We just want to make sure we're taking proper safety precautions in that area.
Well, thank you. With that, we will be concluding the Q&A session.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.